What's up, guys, and welcome back to Will Sports Talk. So this is part 2 of my college football playoff dark horses in each conference. And in this video, we're going to dive into the Big 12 and talk about the Utah Utes. Now, Utah, this is their first year in the Big 12 conference after moving from the Pac-12. And Utah, they had a down year last year. They finished the season 8-5. After winning back-to-back Pac-12 championships the 2 previous years. And a big reason for Utah's downfall last year is they were hit with the injury bug all year. They struggled to stay healthy. Their quarterback, Cam Rising, didn't play a down all year after suffering a leg injury in the Rose Bowl the year before. And then after Cam Rising went down, that led them with quarterback issues all year long. They were constantly juggling back and forth between quarterbacks. So that was a big reason for their downfall last year. And then this offseason, Utah lost safety Cole Bishop, outside linebacker Jonah Ellis, halfback Sione Vaki, offensive lineman Keaton Bills, Satoa Lomia, then wide receiver Devon Bell, tight end Thomas Yasmin. And Thomas Yasmin, he was also injured for 4 games last year, so he didn't play part of the season either. And then cornerback Miles Battle lost all those players to the draft this offseason. And then on top of that, Utah lost 7 players in the portal this offseason. A big hit for Utah was center Khalil Fowl, who played 8 games last year for Utah and was expected to be a starter this year. So that was a big hit for Utah, losing their center there. But after talking about all this, let's talk about some of the positives for Utah and why I think they can be a legitimate college football playoff dark horse going into this year. Utah returns 72% of its production from last year. That is 75% on the offense and then 70% on the defense. And then a big reason I expect them to have a big year, they get their quarterback back. Cam Rising is returning to Utah for his 7th season of college football. So to have him return, have that leadership back for Utah, have that veteran presence at quarterback, that's going to be huge if he can stay healthy for Utah. And then behind Cam Rising this year, I mentioned they struggled last year without him. I don't think that's going to be an issue this year. Utah, they're bringing in 5-star transfer quarterback Sam Hard from Cal Poly to back up Cam Rising just in case they run into those same problems that they had last year. If Cam Rising was to get injured, they need somebody to step up and fill that void. So they brought in Sam to solve some of those issues. And then they also got tight end Landon King returning, who was a breakout player for Utah last year. So him returning for Utah is huge. Then Utah, they also dipped into the portal this offseason. They added halfback Carson Ryan out of UCLA, wide receiver Dorian Singer out of USC, Deshaun Lyons out of Washington, to kind of fill those holes left behind by Devon Bell and Sione Vaki. And then on top of all the newcomers for Utah, Utah returns wide receiver Money Parks, who had a big year for Utah this past year. Now, going back and talking about Carson Ryan a little bit, Carson Ryan is a player I think that could be a day one real contributor for this team. I expect Carson Ryan to be big for Utah. He's a big athletic guy. He's a great blocker. He's quick and physical off the line of scrimmage. And Carson Ryan has really good ball skills. So like I said, I expect him to be a big player for Utah this coming up year. Now, jumping over to the defensive side of the ball for Utah, Utah added safety Alaki Gilman out of Stanford and cornerback Keenan Johnson out of Georgia Tech to kind of fill the holes that was left behind in that secondary this offseason. Now, cornerback Zemiah Vaughn, he was Utah's best corner last year. He returns for Utah to add some veteran leadership, some experience to the secondary. So that's going to be huge for Utah. Keenan Johnson, he is a legit athlete. He has tons of speed. He's a veteran guy with plenty of experience. He's a lockdown cornerback, and he has the ability to eliminate the deep ball. So I expect him to be huge for Utah this coming up year. Keenan Johnson last year only allowed 272 total yards last year and had a career high, a season high, with 6 stops and 1 interception. So he's going to be a big player for Utah. I expect this secondary for Utah to be one of the best in the country. Utah, they return all 3 linebackers from last year. So I expect this linebacking core to be one of the best in the country. I expect this defense in general to be top 5, top 10 in the country. This Utah team is going to be really good. Now, with all this being said, let's take a look at the schedule. And just glancing at the schedule, Utah is going to be a top team, a top-tier team in the Big 12. Just looking at the schedule, I could easily see Utah going undefeated, but I do have them slipping up. Let's just run game by game. They start the year against Southern Utah. I expect that to be a pretty easy win there. And then they play Baylor in the second game. Baylor, they're not very good. I expect that to be a pretty easy win. And then they go to Utah State. I expect that to be a pretty easy win. And then game number 4. This is my slip up for Utah. They have to go to Stillwater and play Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State has running back Ollie Gordon, who I expect to be one of the best running backs in the country next year. I expect Ollie Gordon to be a Heisman contender next year. And I just don't know if Utah is going to be able to stop him. I believe Ollie Gordon is too electric. So I'm going to take Utah to drop a close one to Oklahoma State. And then they go back home to play Arizona. Arizona, an improved team, but they are in kind of a question mark kind of state. They did lose their head coach, Jed Fitch. So Arizona's kind of facing some uncertainty right now. So I expect Utah to beat Arizona. And then they go to Arizona State. Again, they have Kenny Dillingham as a head coach. He's a young head coach, not a ton of experience. I expect Utah to win this game pretty easily. And then they play TCU, a mediocre TCU team. I expect Utah to win this game pretty handily. And then they go play a pretty bad Houston team. So I expect Utah to win this game pretty easy as well. Then they play BYU, another big win for Utah. And then they go to Colorado, playing Colorado and Deion Sanders. And Colorado is a team that has been hit hard by the portal. They have lost numerous players during this offseason. I expect Utah to handle Colorado. I don't see Colorado being a very good team this year. And then this next to last game, this could be a hiccup. This could be a hiccup for Utah. They play Iowa State at home. I expect Iowa State to be a top of the conference, top 2 or 3 team in the conference. I expect Iowa State to be really good this year. I expect this to be a close game, but I do see Utah edging it out against Iowa State. And then last game of the year, they go to UCF, and UCF picked up KJ Jefferson out of Arkansas, quarterback out of Arkansas in the portal. So I expect this offense under Gus Malzahn to be pretty explosive. I don't see UCF being a bad team. I see maybe middle of the conference, but I do see Utah winning this game by at least 10 to 14 points. And then that has Utah finishing the season 11-1 and getting into the playoff. So with that being said, that completes this video. I hope y'all like it. Let me know what y'all think. If y'all haven't watched any of my other videos, make sure to go check them out. I hope y'all enjoyed it, and I will see y'all on the next one. Thank you.